Domestic violence is in many ways a quiet epidemic. Though in plain sight, victims are often invisible, fearfully denying their situation and hiding behind the facade of a happy home. On this show, we are dedicated to speaking against societal issues like this, because this is a place of peace and healing through talk. My name is Maria Chike Benjamin, and I am your host. Our guest on today's show, like many, hoped for a happily ever after. But when her fairy tale became a nightmare, she knew it was time to walk away. Here to share her survival story, please help me welcome Ofonime Felix Asuquo. It's a great pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Good?
Yeah.
Well, before we dive into your story properly, we would like to have a little bit of knowledge about your background, your family history, educational background before you got married to your husband.
Okay. I'm from Akwa Ibom State. I'm 30 years of age. My qualification, SSC.
And your family, where do they live?
At Calabar.
Your mom, your dad?
My mom, sorry, I'm an orphan.
Wow,
Yeah.
Okay, so that was why I asked about your family background. My
Okay.
apologies for that.
It's okay.
Okay.
When I lost my parents, I went and stayed with my uncle, but he never treated me well. I later left to Calabar to stay with my relative.
Okay.
Then my relative I stayed with, he has 4 children and a wife, so things were not really working well. So that was how I got to meet with my husband.
Okay. So you were living with your uncle and then you left him and moved to Calabar to stay with your relatives?
Yes.
Okay. When you say things were not really working well with your relatives?
Like financially.
Okay. There was no... Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you meet your husband?
He met me in my relative's place.
Okay.
He was staying around there.
How long did you guys court for before you...
Just a year. And that's when I was 18.
Okay.
To 19, I got pregnant. That's when I was 19.
You got pregnant at 19
Yeah.
for him. And you were married then?
Not officially. Just I got pregnant out of wedlock.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
What was life like with him before you got married?
He was okay then.
Did your relatives, did they know him? Did they like him?
Yeah, they knew him.
Were they in support of your union, like having a child together? Or you didn't tell them?
Yes, I didn't tell them. Not when it came up and when I went to them, there was nothing they could do because it already happened.
Okay.
So.
Was he happy that you were having his child?
You mean my
Your
husband?
husband, yes.
Yeah, he was.
So what changed?
I don't actually know. Sometimes he behaves abnormal.
What does he do? What was his occupation?
He's a butcher. He kills cow, yeah.
Cows. Okay. So how did the first incident ever happen with domestic violence between yourself and him?
That was 2012. That's when my first child was a year plus. It was on the 26th of December 2012. Though he promised to take me out and the baby. So he went out and came back late. I now asked him, why are you coming back by this time? He promised to go with us. He asked me, haven't you seen other mothers with their babies going out to watch the carnival? It was on a children's carnival day. I said, wow, but you said you get us like our outfits so we can, had it been I had, I wouldn't have waited for you, I would have gone with the baby. He just like have insulted him. I never knew what he was up to. I don't know, maybe he had already smoked somewhere because they also take these hard drugs. So he smashed me. I was just beside the bed. So my baby was lying down. So he mistakenly smashed the baby.
Okay, he wanted to match you.
Yes.
And he stepped on the baby.
Yes. So he got angry and said that it's because of me he smashed the baby. So he uses his right fist and punched my lip. Then I have a big cut.
Over you just asking?
Yes. So by then...
Was your baby okay?
Yeah, he was okay. He was very okay, yeah.
Okay.
So at the point I noticed the cut was so deep and I was bleeding seriously. So I had to let me rush to him because where his father stays is just a stone throw to our place.
Okay.
So while I wanted stepping out from the house, he brought out a machete attempting to cut me, but he did not. It was just a threat. that I shouldn't leave the house to anyone. I said, no, I have to show this to your father.
This was the first ever time?
Yes, that was the first. So I had to run out with the baby. He ran after me. He came and collected the baby. He beat me up and pushed me inside the bush where I couldn't find my slippers. It was late, around 11 at night. So I had to walk barefoot to the father's place. When I got there, the father he didn't just know what to say. He took me to a chemist. The woman said he can't stitch. He should rather take me to the hospital. So I told the father I'm not coming. The woman now suggested the father should follow me to the house and find out what happened. So he came with me that night. When he came and asked him, what's the problem that you did this to this lady? He said he don't just know what came over him, that is a devil's work. So the father had to spend the night with us. The morning,
in his house or
yes,
in the father's
his house? In his house.
In your husband's house?
Yes. So in the morning, he tapped him and asked him to accompany him that he is going.
So no one addressed your...
No, yes, it was still like that. So after...
You didn't want to get it dressed up?
Yes, that night. Because I don't just know. I guess I can't stay... I can't absorb the pains if they will stitch that very night. It was so painful. So the father left that morning. So even then, he didn't say anything. I took his money to my relative's place.
Your husband's money?
Yes, I took his money without his knowledge, yeah. So when I got to my relative's place, they asked me, what happened? I just told them what happened. So they actually rushed me to a nearby pharmacist. So they started giving me treatments. But after some days, he came with the father to plead with my relative and I. So they now settled us and I went back to the house.
How did this make you feel?
I felt so bad. I didn't know that I'm an orphan. I guess I wouldn't have stayed with a man at that age.
Your feelings in terms of love and emotions, how with the abuse of him hitting you and stuff, and obviously mistakenly stepping on your baby, how did that as a woman make you feel?
I felt so bad. I actually think a lot of things. So why this?
So why did you go back after he begged? What made you go back?
Because they said, in the marital home, there are things you need to endure. I just, okay, maybe he will change. Let me still go back, since I already had a child for him. So I went back. Gradually, I became pregnant again in 2014. I gave birth to my second child.
So between this first incident and 2014, what was your relationship like with him, the baby?
He was still keeping to late night. At the point, I just avoided him. Let me tolerate him. Because I never thought of being a single mother, because it's not easy being a single mother.
Was he looking after you?
Yes.
Like caring for your needs?
He was. He was to his own capability. He was. Okay. Let me not condemn him.
Were you guys still very sexually active?
Yes.
So if you didn't feel safe as a woman with him, like why were you still giving yourself to him?
If you don't, it will be a problem.
So not because you wanted to, just to satisfy him?
Yes.
Okay.
We had to pack up to a new place. From there, he was still so brutal. So to a point, there was a night he came back and his phone was ringing and it was a woman, and that number has been calling late at night. So that day I just asked him, why are you doing all this? A woman is calling you by this time of the night. Is it really fair? He was telling me that he has rights. So I said, I actually have rights as well as a woman. I have my rights. So don't I have right to see, as in to tell you what I like and what I dislike? I wasn't serious. I just said it and just avoided him. I was feeding my baby, the second child I gave birth to. I was feeding the baby. So while talking, I don't just know what comes over him sometimes. Though. He uses his right fist and punched my nose. Something caught inside my nostril. I was bleeding seriously. I was half naked, so I ran outside. A neighbor outside helped me with a wrapper. So with that wrapper, I ran to a nearby station.
Police station?
Yes, for a report. So while I got there, I gave my statement. They asked if he's at home. I said yes. So they had to follow me to the house. But before we got to the house, he has already rushed and cleaned up the blood that was in the house and sat somewhere So they got him arrested. While going on the way, I called the dad to come to the station. So the dad came. The dad was like complaining bitterly. The police should help him and talk to his son. He doesn't know why he's like this. So they detained him and I went back home that night because my baby was purely blood.
So all your blood from your nose fell on your
Yes,
baby.
yes. So
And
was
he knew
purely
you were
blood.
still carrying the baby when he hit you?
Yes. I went back home with the baby. I was asked to come the next morning. So I went the next morning. The dad came. So they brought him out from the cell. They interviewed us. They asked him why he did this. He said that the woman that has been calling him is his customer that buy cows from him. He said, so must she be calling by that time because she's your customer? So while then, we had 3 policewomen and we were 4 women. Him and the dad and 1 policeman, that's 3 men. We're about 7 of us. So they were giving him advice. Even if you're having an affair outside, it shouldn't affect your home. So the policeman was like telling him that whatever thing you're doing outside your home first. He said, okay. I had to settle down. Since the baby is so tender, you don't have to leave.
How old was your baby?
6 months then.
Okay.
By then
And you were officially married at this point?
No.
Or the same arrangement?
Yes, the same.
Just living together and having children?
So by then I never even knew I was pregnant.
Again,
With that
already?
baby. Yes. So at the point I noticed I was pregnant. So I put to bed 2015 again, the last child. So he kept on beating me. To a point, the caretaker of that compound confronted him and asked him why he's fond of beating me, what has been coming over him. Though the man didn't know he was a chain smoker, that he do takes hard drugs.
Okay.
So then he actually promised that any day he beats me, because then when he beats me, those neighbors will come out for my rescue. So he actually promised anytime he beats me, and then if any neighbor comes out, that what he will do to them, they won't like it. I never knew he meant what he said. So he went out one fateful day and came back late at night, 1 a.m. So when he came back, a neighbor gen was on. So he just passed directly to there and off the gen. After offering, he came inside the house and went out again and on his own gen. After on, he came inside the house and came out and off his own. He went and sat outside. So when the neighbor came out, he saw him and went and asked him, please, Daddy Prince, did you see anybody? Because he checked, there was fuel, there was oil, and there was nothing wrong with the gen. So he went and asked him, please, did you see anyone that off my gen? As if the man wasn't talking to him. He didn't answer, he just kept mute. So I now went outside and met him. I said, please, can you come and on the gen, that the house is hot. He said, who are you talking that nonsense with? I was like, is there anyone behind me that is talking? I don't understand. I was with tube short gown. He just stood up, he slapped me and tore the clothes. I stood, as in he stripped me naked, pure naked.
Outside?
Outside, yes, by that time, 1 a.m. So that my neighbor, he was the first person that came out. He saw me naked. He screamed and asked the stepdaughter to bring me wrapper. So when they brought me, the man asked him, Daddy Prince, what is always the problem, you and your wife? The man never expected. He just jacked the man up, hit the man on the ground. The wife came out. He just behaved like someone that is running mad. So the man, they now threw him down. The wife held the neck while the man held his angle. So there was a policeman living in our compound. So the man now asked the stepdaughter to go and call the man. So while the man came out, because of the time, he came out with a machete. And when he came out, he said, is it the thief? They said, no, is that the prince? What's the problem? So the man now asked, Mommy Prince, what happened? I told him everything. He said, does he have a mental problem? I said, I don't know. They'll need to ask the dad. So the man now said, okay, they should leave him since he has heard his voice that he will behave normal. He had already damaged people's things. He broke the windscreen of the policeman. He broke people overseas. So when the caretaker came out and asked what was the problem, he just held that man and threw the man inside the gutter. And the man was an old man. He sustained injury all over his body and all of that. When they left him, when he stood up, everybody were looking for a way to escape. Even the policeman ran with the machete because there's a prison close to my house, close to our house there. The man ran straight to the prison and met the army men there. So he reported the case. So they came with the man. When they came, he punched the army man. The man almost shot him, but the other one held and then asked if the man has a check. As they brought it and poured it on him, they took him to the prison. They gave him tolerary beatings and then called Mbukba station. He came and carried him. So they now asked us to say, then in the morning we should come. I called the father as well to come to the station, that it has happened. Not until in the morning. That was when he knew that he was in cell, so when they brought him out. So he was even asking, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? So people were just looking at him. They said, so there was all the tenants, the sign undertaking that whatever thing he does to me, nobody will come out again for my rescue. So at the point when we went back, I was scared. Where will I go to with these children? Where will I start from? I didn't have anything doing. I will sleep, I will not sleep comfortable. My eyes will be open to see if he will perform another thing. So one morning, I have finished dressing up my kids. That same month, I finished dressing up my kids to take them to school. He now held me on my feet. I said, you should leave this house. I want to bring in another woman, or else I'll kill you. After all, I'll be sent to prison. At the point, I'll be released so I can take care of these children. He even called the policewoman that was the IPO of the keys. Madam, please, this woman should leave my house. I want to bring in another woman. Or else I'll kill her. After dropping my kids, I went directly to the station to meet the woman. When I got there, the woman said, Ofonime, well, there's nothing I can say again. But in this case, I would ask you to leave before he kills you. I just came back home, picked few of my clothes with the rest of the children's uniform, because I had about 3 uniforms. I went to my relative's place and stayed there.
You took your children with you?
Yes.
Okay.
I went to the school and picked them along.
Okay.
So after some months, I said, this is not funny. I went and confided with someone. So he took me to one barrister, Barrister Ihiri. He's from Igbo. So he petitioned the case as test CID. So on the day they summoned us, he came with his barrister, and I also went with mine. They almost detained him, but though the barrister solicited on his behalf, they had to fix another day for me to come back. After like 2 days later, one of the neighbors, they called me and said that he has threw my luggages outside with that of my children's own. I called the police, they said my things are outside. He said I should come to the station. They fixed another day. They called him and told him, this is the day we are coming. Is it convenient for him? He said yes. So the policeman came with me. His barrister as well came also. They called a taxi. I packed those things. So I left him. I was 2017. So I went and stayed with that, my relative. I stayed there almost a year. The uncle sent for me. So while I went, he told me he learned everything that happened, but that he was trying to see if we could settle it amicably within ourselves. But since we could not, that's why he sent for me. And he doesn't like me staying separate with the kids. And though they are male children, they don't actually have to be with me. They have to stay under the custody of the father and mother so that they can be well trained. But there was one thing I told the uncle, sir, please, not actually going back to him is my problem, but still the domestic violence. And I don't want to come back for reports.
Why was he an option for you? I mean, over this 1 year, you've been with your uncle.
Yes.
Your relatives living with them, with your kids.
Yes,
It might have been hard, it might have been tight. But after all these years of him saying sorry, he'll change, him showing you repetitive actions of him not trying to change, why did you want to go back?
People were telling me because of those children, they are too tender. Still go back for the sake of them. So let's not look as if there was something really outside I was out for. I said, okay, let me still go back.
Were you still in love with him at this point?
Partially.
You were in love with him?
Yes.
So you would say your actions were mostly out of love to go back and try to fix your relationship with the father of your children?
Yeah. When we went back, the compound there, it was only we and the landlord. So the gate is always locked by dot 10. And then he will stay out for like till 12, sometimes past 12.
Same behavior?
Same behavior. When he comes back and knock at the gates, then if I don't go outside quickly to open, beatings that I should have heard ever since he was knocking. I said, will I stand by the gate and be waiting for you?
Was this the last time you moved in?
Yes.
When it started? So
2018.
18?
Yes, just 2 months left to be 1 year ever since I left from 2017.
So you went back, that's what I'm saying, and these beatings carried on again.
Yes.
So why did you stay? Because he hasn't changed. So what made you stay?
You know, carrying children to, even if it's your relative's place, it looks somehow. So I had to consider those things.
When did you stop living with
Finally,
him?
That was 2019.
19. So
Yes,
that's the
11
longest.
February.
That's the longest you've never lived with him.
Yes.
Will you ever go back to live with him?
No.
Why have you made that decision?
Though I made the decision ever before, he has gotten married to another woman, Sha.
Married?
So, but yes, officially.
Officially?
Yeah.
Okay. He never married you officially?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have children?
No, I learned she's pregnant. The marriage was just last year.
Are you still in talking terms? Does he help financially with the children?
He pays fees for the feeding. He's not really complying. Sometimes, like since December, he has not given anything for the feeding. But he pays only, he's paying the fees.
Where are you guys living now?
I stay at Mount Zion. That's at
Is that with your
Calabar.
relatives?
Yes, I'm now staying with my sis. No
Your
longer
sister?
staying with my uncle, yes.
So your sister is your biological sister?
Yeah.
So are you happy as a person now? Are you happy?
Yes, I'm really happy.
What are you working? What are you doing currently?
Though I hawk on the street to sell snacks. So I'm very okay with that. Very, very okay with my children. I'm okay.
Okay, just to wrap up with the show, we're very thankful that you came out today, obviously to help us share your story and create awareness to similar women or even men who are obviously going through or might not even know that they are going through the same domestic violence as you have. So we're very thankful for you that you shared your story. And don't think that you didn't do your best. You trying to always go back is human nature, and you've obviously done what you felt was right at the time. Although in a third party's eye, it might not look right, but you know what you felt. So we're thankful for you, and don't ever forget that you're a strong woman. But before we wrap up the show, we do have a special guest who has been listening to your story at the back, and she'll just come in to give a word of advice.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we please welcome an amazing actor, a great friend, and a sister, Bimbo. Thank you so much, Bimbo, for sharing your presence on the show. We do appreciate you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good.
I'm so sorry for everything that you have been through.
It's okay.
You look really good, so I must commend your strength.
Yes, she does.
You know, I grew up being raised by a single father. So when I hear all the stories of men being beasts or monsters, it's strange to me because my dad is, far from that. But it's not about me, it's about you.
Okay.
How are the kids?
They're fine.
I'm really proud of you. And I just wanted to say two things. Number one is I would say, please don't let what you've been through define you.
Okay.
Keep being a good person. Keep fighting for your kids. Trust me, when they grow up and they know it, they will take very good care of you. And that's the utmost joy any parent could face.
Yeah.
You can ask my dad, he's so spoiled right now.
Yeah.
But and number two, I would like to give you ₦500,000 naira. To your business. I just cannot imagine what you could be going through to raise 3 beautiful boys. So that's the little that I can do, and I hope that God sends more help to your way.
Amen.
Yes.
And just before we wrap up the show, Bimbo, I have to stress this. This has never, ever happened on this show till date. We're so grateful, we're so thankful that you came on this show, first on hand, being backstage, listening to her challenging story, and you had the heart to offer ₦500,000 naira. We pray that God replenishes your pocket. We thank you for having such a big heart and such a loving heart.
Thank you.
We love you so much, me especially. A special appreciation to Hyacinth Global for connecting us to Ofonime. To our viewers out there, especially those in similar situations, please do understand this. There is no safe way to remain in a violent relationship. The only solution is to escape. If you or someone you know out there is going through similar challenges, please do not hesitate to contact agencies like Hyacinth Global if you do need help. And until next time, I will always be your host on Healing with Maria.